What's the most disgusting thing you've ever done in your life? NSFW. I was sneezing like crazy and didn't know why. I tried Piriton and it did nothing. I didn't feel unwell either, so just rolled with it. A couple of days later I was round a friend's house and really sneezed hard and a little curly noodle came out of my nose. I pulled on it slowly and it slid out all wiggly, which set off my gag reflex. I just managed not to puke on my friend's floor, but I wanted to. It measured about 5 inches stretched out. It was from Chinese food I ate 4 days prior. I was a caretaker for mentally challenged people for a while. Once we suspected that this guy had eaten a rubber glove, and to be sure we had to give him an enema to see if something came out. People who are severely handicapped and stuck in a wheelchair don't have bowel movements that often. Sometimes they can go close to a week before things start moving. That was the case with this guy. He hadn't taken it for like 5 days before this. He was given the enema in the bathroom and a few minutes later gave birth to a beanbag chair-sized turd on the floor. I then went to the kitchen and got a fork, which I used to mince up the it like I was portioning out a humongous sloppy joe. The glove wasn't there. I didn't eat for like 3 days after that. Wasn't me who did it, but my 1-year-old daughter ate the scabby stub of my newborn son's umbilical cord. I got the norovirus. Came down with it during a trip to IKEA. Made it home, but ended up with an immediate need to throw up and have violent diarrhea at the same time. I ended up on the toilet with a plastic bag in my lap for me to bath in, but the bag had a couple tiny holes in it, so it ended up with little streams of puke going in 2 directions. Added bonus, after everything subsided, I blew my nose and half an IKEA meatball came flying out. When I was broke I was living off of 20 pounds bags of rice. Well, one morning I start the rice cooker going while I take a shower. I come back out to find my rice has a ton of tiny cockroaches in it, so I figured I could use the protein and ate it anyways. Woke up in the middle of the night with a runny nose, and while laying there had the urge to sneeze. I was tightly wrapped in my bedding and didn't want to let cool air under the blankets, so I turned my head to sneeze into the wall. A second sneeze was coming and I had the thought that if I aimed it at a different area of the wall, it'd make less mess somehow. So I did. But I didn't have a runny nose of snot. It was a bloody nose. And I woke up in the morning to a crime scene covering about a quarter of my bedroom wall. I had to manually remove a giant turd that wouldn't come all the way out and was stuck about a quarter of the way. After struggling for half an hour, I finally just reached up there and started coaxing it out with my fingers. The feeling of relief was indescribable, but was overshadowed by the fact that I felt strangely violated in some way. It was the consistency of modeling clay, only maybe a little harder. It ended up looking like petrified wood. I had to break it up so it would flush. I actually thought about taking it out of the toilet and throwing it in the trash at one point. Don't do opiates, kids. My mother tells me she came into the bathroom to see how I was doing. I had taken it in the tub and played with the turd. She asked me what I was doing and I said I was playing with a pirate ship. Okay, it's not actually the grossest I've done, but it's a neat image. Heave and ho. Not intentionally, but this is how it went. Baby me is usually fussy. Mom leaves me in crib for a while. Wonders why I'm unusually quiet. Goes in to check on me. Baby me is busy eating own poop. Should probably use a throwaway but duck it. I dip. And usually I have a styrofoam cup filled with a paper towel to spit into. And one filled with water to drink from. Now you may think you know where this is going, but stick with me. I keep the 2 cups on opposite sides of my desk. And one day I got to doing what guys normally do. Idle masturbation. When I finished I figured it would be easy to just put my remnants into the dip cup, which I didn't plan to use anymore and was going to promptly throw away. Before I had the chance though, I started playing Rocket League. Mid Rocket League game I went to take a drink of water, instinctively swallowed, and came to the all too sudden and dark realization that I had just swallowed a mouthful of skeet and dip spit. I vomited on my floor almost immediately and spent the next hour in the bathroom trying to cleanse myself of my past. That is by far the most disgusting thing I've ever done. Aside from beer bonging a beer I threw up. BTW Scotty, if you see this don't think less of me, friend. I had food poisoning. I had just hit myself while eating breakfast. It wasn't bad, so I went to finish my breakfast before it got cold. I was thus eating breakfast naked since my underwear had been eaten. I had an uncontrolled diarrhea squirt shoot out and run down my leg onto the floor. It was yellowish brown and pure liquid. My wife was horrified. Ate toilet paper off a road. I was keen on dares and doing stupid stuff to get attention when I was 15. Non-sexual. My ex-wife was sick. Horrible rolling around on the ground stomach cramps. My ex was not a person that could make herself throw up on command. So, we got her hunched over the toilet and I jammed 2 fingers down her throat. Instant gushing of a full stomach onto my hand into the toilet. Worth it, as she felt so much better. Sexual. Not really my fault but pretty disturbing to me at the time. Had just finished an L6 with my girlfriend. She had run off to the bathroom to evacuate, as I had finished in her. While she is in the bathroom, I am laying on the bed, enjoying the afterglow, eyes closed. Suddenly I feel an intense discomfort on my member. She had a new kitten that was light enough to jump on the bed without me noticing. For whatever reason, the kitten decided I needed cleaning in that area. You know how cats' tongues are like sandpaper? And guys are really sensitive right after? So suddenly I am in the shower and my girlfriend is running around trying to catch her kitten so she can clean his mouth out. When I was in the army my unit left for a few weeks for some training. When we returned we saw a wasp nest up by our company area. So naturally we knocked it down and threw it into the grass behind the building. Next day after PT we find the nest in the grass. Has a bunch of dew from the night before on it. And no wasps. Because we're a bunch of stupid grunts. It immediately became a bidding war to get another one of our guys, Hughes, to eat it. Which eventually he agrees for the price of $40. Pops it into his mouth. Chews for maybe a minute and pops a few larvae still inside and immediately throws it back up. Right into my hand. Without missing a beat I hear my squad leader shout out, "Now you eat it. Search your dominance over him." And that's how I earned $40. A half-drunk Dr. Pepper. And dominance over my entire company who watched me eat that half-chewed and vomited wasp nest. It's also how I can guarantee my fiancée won't kiss me for a few hours. Because she hates that story. Grunts are stupid. It's in our nature to do stupid things. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I am for Bigo. Now when I tell the story I can add in I also got some Reddit gold too. The reward got sweeter. WTF is wrong with you people? Eating TP off the road. Putting a pus bandage in your mouth. Eating poop vomit. Drinking a combination of your dip spit and cum. Eating on the floor in front of your wife. You all need Jesus or something. When I was 2 my mother found me in the living room with blood running from my mouth. She OFC got very concerned and ran to me to find out what was wrong and rush me to the hospital. Weirdly enough I was not crying or upset. When she got to me and opened my mouth she found out why. I was chewing on a giant tick. According to her the abdomen was about 15 millimeters in diameter. Now you may wonder how such a large tick got in the house. Well of course it had fallen off our dog. Probably tame by most accounts. But I've never told this one before. One night-ish stand. Friends with a girl. We were out drinking in a group. She started hitting on me. Yes. And if you saw me you'd realize that was rare. So I went with it. She invited me back to her place. We did our thing and it was dirty, including a porn star finish. Then when it was over she just rolled up to me. Didn't run to the bathroom to clean up or anything. And I was so tired drunk I just lay there and passed out with the cum covered goddess using me as a pillow. I couldn't have been asleep for long cause I woke up drunk. I felt this warm wet feeling on my hip. Yep, she pissed on me, but what woke me was she was coughing wrenching on me, and seconds later puked all over my chest. I sobered up pretty quickly at this and was disgusted. I climbed out of bed and she never came to. Like seriously it was probably one of those things where she would have died if she was sleeping on her back and puked in her mouth deals. So I was certainly happy that didn't happen but I was covered in horrible bodily fluids. So I tried to wake her and she wasn't having it so I pulled back the covers to carry her to the shower and clean us both up. And of course, she had also hit the bed. Literally every bodily fluid except for blood was on this poor girl. So I manned up, showered and cleaned us both off. Washed her sheets in the middle of the night and set us both up on the couches in a position so if she puked again she wouldn't die. Then in the morning I only told her she really needed to watch her drinking cause after we banged she ended up puking. I left the other parts out. Was sick. Eating pizza pockets. Threw up. Closed mouth. Short strings of cheese out nose like ducking Spider-Man. Once after a drunken night off 6, I went in the bathroom in the morning, looked in the mirror, and saw a red face covered in blood. The short version is that I was severely constipated and had diarrhea behind the hard stool. Once my bowels were evacuated and I had wiped, I lost balance on my weakened legs and caught myself by plowing my hand right into the bowl of a rundown gas station toilet. Don't eat MREs for a week while camping, then cook and eat fish from a questionable creek on the last day. I had to trim all of my fingernails to the meat to get it smell off of my fingers. A guy at work dipped and spit into a Starbucks cup that still had the lid on. At one point during our programming session I reached over and took a swig thinking it was my coffee. After I had kids, my parents liked to criticize me for not being a germophobic mom. I've always been pretty relaxed about germs, and while I kept things pretty clean, I was never overly paranoid about constant hand washing, antibacterial soaps, sterilizing things, etc. If I dropped a pacifier for example, I would just rinse it off instead of washing and scrubbing and boiling it. My kids are all very healthy and I like to think it's partly because their immune systems have had plenty of practice. Anyway, one day we were all in a hospital visiting my grandmother. It was me, my parents, and my 3 kids. We had traveled hours together to visit her. Tensions were high, and my dad said something about how filthy most hospitals are. I still have no idea why I did what I did next. I guess I was just fed up with everything. I looked my dad in the eye, licked the palm of my hand, knelt down, rubbed my hand around on the hospital floor for a few seconds, and then licked my hand again. The expressions of shock on their faces. It was a truly disgusting and immature thing to do. I got sick. As a drunken student trying to appear wacky, I knelt down on a pavement outside a pub and licked some vomit we just found. Just happened a few weeks ago. I accidentally wiped my ass with the tail of my shirt at work. Somehow got tangled up with the toilet paper on the wipe. Luckily I noticed it before I left the stall and had a t-shirt on underneath and worked somewhere with a lax dress code. Not the grossest thing I suppose since I caught it, but the potential to go back to my desk with a ratty button down is a terrible thought. Once in high school my friends and I got drunk off some giant jug of red wine. I had to go take it, then all of a sudden was overcome with the urge to bath. It hit me too quickly to wheel around and use the toilet, so I bathed in the sink in front of me. It was a weird feeling evacuating fluids out of both ends at the same time. My friends hear the commotion and decided to open the door to find me in a real sorry state, then left. Ended up falling asleep while cleaning up. I wasn't able to wash my foot for a good month after I had surgery done on it. My leg up to my knee was nothing but pre-surgery saline solution on top of dead skin and swollen leg, with unshaven leg hair poking through in places. The smell when I washed it for the first time. Did I mention I couldn't even use a washcloth because the entire area was swollen as all heck? My leg smelled like stinky foot and saline solution and dead skin and my sister's facial soap for over a month. This is a story I quit telling a while ago. I will try and keep it short. I didn't go home during Thanksgiving break my freshman year of college. My buddy's parents were out of town, so he and his brother threw a 4-day rager. One night I made a pizza and proceeded to eat 7 of the 8 slices. I was sitting at a table with about 6 stoned teens and I needed to use the bathroom but still wanted the last slice. So I spit on it. I get back from the bathroom and everyone at the table was grossed out by how I protected my last slice. I said, "Oh yeah." I then sent the final slice around the table and had everyone spit on it. The last contributor was a big smoker and hocked a big yellow loogie to top it off. I then ate the slice. One girl was so disgusted she had to leave the party. Yeah, not a story I tell much anymore. Dug through 14 bags of medical waste because a scrub nurse thought she maybe threw away a specialized surgical instrument. In 95 heat. Some of the bags had been outside since the day before. The other scrub tech and I kept asking. Between bags. She'd found it. Always a no. She found it under a sponge on her tray. Duck you. Stephanie. Edit. Just woke up. This wasn't in the US. though all the players were American. Don't do medical mission trips. My ex-wife was allergic to almost all regular painkillers. No ibuprofen, no paracetamol, no codeine, no aspirin, etc. The only thing she didn't get an allergic shock from was morphine, synthetic or real. After a long delivery which finally ended in a C-section, she was incredibly constipated due to the very little pain meds she took and also her gut being sliced open to bring our son out. She was gassy and in a lot of pain from it. She couldn't get her bowels to move enough for release due to the surgery, so I got her to sit on the throne, put a nitrile glove on. Then I reached in and physically shoved a turd inside her colon so that gas could pass out of her. The draft blew along my arm, and her relief was instant. In retrospect, and looking at it from the outside, it was pretty disgusting, but at the moment I didn't mind it at all. Her relief was well worth it. Edit. Holy moly. Thanks for all the replies telling me how amazing I am. I still just think it's the kind of thing a marriage should be about. She was in pain and I could help. But thanks a whole bunch. I've had it a bit rough since the divorce. You guys really brightened my day. I know for a fact I've done worse than this, but I can't remember my throwaways. So we'll just go with this. Back in 2012, I went to a small party, basically 10-15 girls and maybe a couple guys being loud and drinking in a small apartment, with my best friend Ashley. We spent the whole night drinking and smoking weed, having a great time, doing stupid. Eventually, however, Ashley and I were the only two people left up. The rest of the people had either gone home or were sleeping hanging out in the homeowner's bedroom, and there was no more alcohol, except a big glass of wine that myself and a couple other people had been using as an ashtray. My buddy and I both noticed it at the same time. We made eye contact. We both knew what was about to happen. I fished the 5 or 6 butts out of the glass, divided the wine between 2 cups, poured the cups back and forth into each other to mix the particles together, and then we had a toast. Despite the many pictures I took that night, I don't really remember much. We both, however, remember the cigarette wine incident in full, vivid detail. For ducking shame. Edit. Yes. We could have filtered it. We could have been less stupid. etc. When you're drunk and high and a teenager, you aren't really concerned about logic.